I want to know what the hell is going on.
So we should probably talk about some switcheroos and switcheroonies that are happening through the pod right now. Hey, so people listening get a good idea of who everybody is and where everybody is and all that stuff. So for right now and for the foreseeable future, Katie has left the show. But it's nothing dramatic. It's nothing mean. Like, I was just hanging out with her a couple days ago. We were talking about podcast stuff and talking about movies the same as we always do. We have nothing but love for Katie, and I assume she will be back. I don't want to, put too much of a thing out there, but I get the distinct impression that Katie would like to come back and join us for episodes in the future, too. She just needs to take a little break and take a step away. And as good friends, we support that, right? Right, Sean?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Who was that voice?
Yeah,
of course.
That voice in the background. Who are you?
I don't know. Who am I? I'm Jamie.
Jamie, you must be friends with one of these two yokos that's doing the show, huh?
Kelley. I met Kelley
God.
about 5 years ago, unfortunately.
Now it's on the public record.
No, noted. I am not your friend. I understand. I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, so who's your friend? Well, Kelley is my friend. Keith is not.
Yeah.
Keith is a new friend. He's a new friend.
There we go. New friends.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jamie. What are you into? Do you have podcasting experience before? Of course, I know the answers to this, but I'm trying to, fill in the rest of the people. So tell everybody about yourself.
So I am a big nerd. I grew up in the middle of nowhere in the Northwoods of Michigan. Sterling, for those that know that, not Sterling Heights. I love. Right? Yes, because everybody thinks it's Sterling Heights.
Yeah, big difference between the two.
Completely different. I love to do D&D. I love to read. I love movies. Been on TV. And I've done podcasting, usually more sports podcasting based. I did a podcast that was a Detroit Lions podcast for a while. And then I did one that was pop culture and sports.
Oh my goodness. So I have a fellow sports ball fan on the Movie Nerd podcast, so we can talk about sports.
Sports ball! Yay!
No, God, no!
Yay! Let's talk about it. So how do you feel about the Red Wings this year? They're going to make the playoffs, right? No, I'm just kidding. We won't go there.
I mean, it's really early to make that for next year because they didn't this
I'm
year.
already looking to the side of the desk, what can I occupy myself
We hear the
with?
click-clack as he's messaging Katie, what you doing?
Come back!
I have things going on. I'm chronically ill, and I need to go take a nap. Get over it.
Yeah, so we might have some other people jumping in, and Jamie might be here for a couple weeks, and then we might bring somebody else in for a couple weeks. We're not really sure. We're just going to play it by ear. Don't worry, Keith and I are going to be bothering you every week. So if you like our voices, you're going to get more of it. If you don't like our voices, what the fuck are you doing here? If you don't like my voice, you are in the wrong place.
Why are you listening to this right now?
Because sometimes people just need something to hate.
Yep. So now everybody knows. So nobody's not sitting back going, Katie, they got into a huge fight and she left in a huff and she thinks Kelley's a secret Nazi or something. No. She might think I'm a dumbass, but she'll come on the show and tell you all about it herself.
We watched a movie.
Did we watch a movie?
We did.
You watched a chick flick.
We did.
Yep, I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to be derogatory. But 100%, this movie was a chick flick through and through.
Before we get to that, I got a quick question. This is completely unrelated. Keith, you live in the South. Does your family do you know sausage gravy? Is sausage gravy a thing for people in Louisiana?
Like white gravy?
Yeah, just sausage gravy.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, like biscuits and gravy?
Yes. Okay, so why are you asking me about biscuit gravy or sausage gravy?
I don't know.
Because Kelley's obsessed with sausage gravy.
I just made a big batch of sausage gravy. I had some ingredients to make it, and I just went ahead and make it. I made it yesterday, and it turned out really, really well. I was super happy that I figured out my grandma's recipe. My dad's side of the family is Southern. Anyways, it started occurring to me that when I think of the South, there are certain parts of the South that don't really qualify as the South. And Louisiana is kind of one of those places where it's in my mind, I was like, if you go far enough south, you just turn French. And that's no longer South anymore,
I mean, we got some South-ass Southies down here, though. You don't get it twisted.
Yeah, no, I get you. But it's just it's such a different flavor, pun intended, of Southern that I wasn't sure if you had staples that I grew up with, considering my family is from the northern part of the South. So, like, I wasn't sure if you had sausage gravy, because half the food I hear about from New Orleans and Louisiana and all that Creole food is all foreign to me, and you all consider it Southern food, and to me, that's I've never heard of half the shit you guys are talking about. Like, beignet? What the fuck is a beignet?
No, it's delicious. That's what it is, sir.
Is it just like a fancy donut?
No, it's a beignet, you asshole.
But what is a beignet? Tell me what a beignet is.
It's a delicious little fancy donut.
Oh, so it is a donut. Okay, there. Okay, thank you for admitting it, because that's kind of what I figured. You guys have a lot of the same shit. You just fancy it up and call it something French. But
it's
sure.
a powdered sugar donut that's better than other powdered sugar.
Yeah,
donuts.
no, we don't have sausage gravy. We have sausage gravy.
We
It's a very French thing to do.
We mostly call it white gravy down here, which is kind of an unfortunate name. I like sausage gravy better, I think.
Yeah, I think if you go to somebody's house and say you want to give mom white gravy for dinner, it's going to get a very different look in the northern states. White gravy to me is like chicken gravy. I don't know. Maybe not even. Anyways. So yeah, I just wanted to ask about the sausage gravy thing.
Anyway, we watched the chick flick.
Yeah, we're talking about Practical Magic, which I'm not going to call it a chick flick. I mean, its target demographic, I would say, was mostly female. Yeah.
There's only like 4 males in the entire movie.
Yeah, and they don't pass the anti-Bechdel test, I don't think.
Yeah, I think I read a note that this is Bechdel Test the movie.
Yeah. 2 men do not have a conversation with each other about anything other than a woman throughout the entire show. You know what? That's fine.
Let's just jump right in, because the whole plot revolves around these women's relationship to men. It's It's a little disappointing in that regard.
Yeah.
See, I don't see it that way. I see it as their relationship to each other. Men are involved.
Yeah. I mean, the whole curse, which, I mean, we'll get into in a second, but the whole curse is kind of like, it's kind of teaching the younger women to not latch onto a man, that, like, you can have a very fulfilling life without attaching into heteronormative culture. So, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of a punk rock statement in the curse in itself. And even she admits later on that, like, the curse only has the power that you give it, you know? So.
Right.
That was them just trying to tell their daughters not to get wrapped up in a boy. And they took it way too far. The whole premise, the whole supernatural premise of this movie was a mom being like, don't go for the guys. Guys are shit. Men are really disappointing as a demographic. So. Yes,
just do you.
A plot
just
twist.
Do you, child.
Somebody else does this movie, and it's just a lesbian romance, and then all the curse doesn't even kick in. The frog's sitting outside the house going, well, shit, what do I do now?
It was a beetle, sir, not a frog.
Oh, I'm sorry, the frog was the one with the ring, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a sequel in the works. It is based off a series of books, and in the books, one of Sally's daughters is lesbian, so.
That makes things a little bit more interesting, almost. Like, because
the people demanded a sequel to this movie.
I thought you were going to say the people demanded lesbians.
Oh, well, that too.
And just to get this out in the open, this was your pick, Jamie.
Yes, it was.
You picked this movie for us to watch.
Yes, sir.
You forced both of us cis white guys to watch this movie. No, there was a lot of good to it. So I don't want to tip my hand too much yet.
It's kind of interesting that we watched this when we did, because I'm currently watching The Acolyte, which is about a basically lesbian witch coven in Star Wars. And,
I heard that made a lot of guys upset online.
Yeah, a lot of douchebags are very upset, and they're leaving Star Wars forever for the 100th time in the past decade.
Sure, Jan.
They're totally through with Star Wars, you guys.
But they also hate cancel culture.
Yeah, yeah. And if they would have left Star Wars the first time they threatened, the whole world would have been happier. They would have found something they would have enjoyed, and the Star Wars fandom would have gone on, and we would have been a better place without them. But alas.
But let's dive into this.
So The Acolyte, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Practical Magic.
We start in Salem to a witch trial,
which is overset by this music that seems like it's so romantic.
It's hopeful as fuck. That's my note. Is that it's awfully hopeful music for a hanging.
It's like the beginning of Forrest Gump, like somebody's about to die.
Jumps and breaks the rope, and it swells, and it's this empowering music. And I believe this feeds into, Jamie said something about like this wanted to be like, or was supposed to be a little more in the realm of a dark horror movie than it was. And the studio was like, nah, we don't want to do that. So they're like, shit, what do we do with this hanging scene that we got? And so they just get the feel-good music.
I thought we were going to watch The Craft, but instead we're watching Mr. Holland's Hocus Pocus.
Right.
Weird note about that is there were actually, I don't know if you can find, there's 2 soundtracks because they replaced the soundtrack like within months of release. The entire soundtrack.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so odd. I wonder if that was a victim of that happening. It was a little more ominous.
Right.
And they brought in to do it. Well, then if they switched it, like you're saying, then they brought in Alan Silvestri.
Yes.
And Alan Silvestri is one of the most, he's super hot right now in Hollywood. Like all the Marvel movies, he was the primary composer for a lot of the main Marvel themes. He's done The Predator, Polar Express, Back to the Future, Lilo and Stitch, The Mummy Returns, Parent Trap, Ready Player One, G.I. Joe, like so many big movies. So like I see his music fitting in, and I hear almost like Marvel's Avengers and that kind of like really triumphant fanfare type music. I can hear that coming through. It was an interesting choice for him to compose for this movie. I think if they, depending on who they had, do we know who they had it start with?
I'm trying to get the name on that right now because it didn't stand out to me quite as much.
Because he definitely, depending on what kind of style they went with the earlier composer, he definitely pulled it into the nostalgia, the warm rom-com kind of feel. It definitely, the music, if you were ever concerned if you were curious what kind of movie you were watching with this, which it could be very easy to do because the movie jumps around between a few different genres.
Tonal whiplash all throughout this movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, and if you're curious, you just listen to the music and the music will remind you that what you're really watching is kind of like a romantic comedy with a little bit of The Craft involved with it, or a little bit of the, those kind of movies that I can't think of any right now, but they're all the witchy movies from the 90s and 2000s.
Lock up your children! Yes, Salem, we're back!
While she's looking up that, let's just set the stage that, so she was waiting for her lover to come rescue her from the hanging and the witch trial, and he never showed up, so once she escapes, she cursed her bloodline to, any man that the women of her bloodline are to fall in love with are doomed to death. Who is she, my ex-fiancé?
Oh, yuck. Waka waka.
And I honestly, the curse is that any man who dares love an Owens woman is doomed to die. So how many people did these women just kill because they walk down the street and some guy's like...
They got a crush on her. Like they get minor illnesses. They get like broken bones and stuff like that. If they're like, wow, she's got a nice ass. Ow. No, but I mean, isn't it kind of like counterproductive? Isn't that the whole point of like, they say that revenge or holding a grudge is like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die? Well, this curse is kind of that in curse form.
Right.
Like, I hate all of you. I'm going to curse my granddaughter.
Right.
Like, why did you curse your own family? Why didn't you curse their families? That if you fall in love with anybody, their hair will fall out and they will call themselves a zebra or whatever the fuck you want to do with them.
Michael Nyman was the original composer.
Who? Michael who?
Nyman. Nyman.
Oh, I've never heard that name before. Well, at least it doesn't ring a bell. I have to look up what else he's done. But yeah, that's quite the tonal.
The piano.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. That's interesting shift.
And Gattaca. Those are probably his 2 most.
Yeah, I can't, I'm not listening. not going to listen to his music right now, but he focused on piano and 17th century Baroque music.
Mm-hmm.
It went to the Royal Academy of Music. Yeah, he's a different kind of composer. I'm sure he had a very different spin on it.
It'd be interesting to see the movie with his soundtrack in it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had even full scenes that were cast out or script written and stuff like that. I'd be curious to see because you can feel the movie trying to get dark, and they just won't let it go that direction.
It happened after the test screenings. The test screenings, his score was too European sounding and obtrusive.
What? Okay,
that's a hell of a
All
note.
Right. So what is European sounding? Is that supposed to sound like complex? Is European supposed to be a stand-in for it? It's too much stuff happening. It sounds too much like jazz. Like, I don't know, what is your
Probably.
criticism there? It sounds European. Europe is a pretty big and diverse place.
This just doesn't sound American. It's just not American, okay?
Because, Ukrainian music and Irish Celtic music sound exactly the fucking same. Anyways.
So we jump to close to the modern day, and we have two sisters whose father dies to this curse. It's signified by a Death Watch beetle, which is an awesome fucking name for a beetle.
Yeah.
It's a
John, Paul, Ringo, and Death Watch.
Boo! You suck. Bad, Kelley. That's bad.
Oh, you're right. John would have been the Death Watch one, right?
Oh, that's dark.
So they get taken in by their witchy aunts who live in this big, fabulous witchy house, and they kind of see them. They show a scene of them sort of not realizing, but maybe taking in that hey, our aunts are witches. When this poor woman comes in and is asking for a love spell, and she doesn't want her man, the man that she loves, to look at other women or anything, and I feel like they have done this poor woman a great disservice by granting her request, because it sounds like this person that she's getting a love potion for makes her miserable from the way that she looks when she shows up. Why would you want to maintain that in your life?
Well, let's take a moment and talk about our own personal romantic history and compare that to your statement. All right. So, I mean, I too have dated a few people that made me fucking miserable. I'm not the only one. So, I mean, at least there's truth in art in that one. That she everybody around her is going, "Girl, him? Really?
Right.
Really? Okay."
Right.
No, I'm not going to bring him back from the dead. He was actually better off.
You know you can make him better. You can make him better.
I can
so
fix
you just
him.
keep holding on.
Yeah, right.
With a spell.
Yeah,
Yes.
Them asking the aunties, like, I can fix him. And they're like, no, he's actually perfect right now. This is his best form.
To their
But
credit, they
he's
are
dead.
a little resistant, but obviously they wanted money, because one of them says, just take the money. Do the hex or the spell or what have you.
Hey, we all live under the cruel thumb of capitalism,
Yes.
so I get it.
Very true. And she had to kill a poor, sweet little dove or something to get the spell. So I just think all around that was a big no-no. They should have kicked that woman to the curb. But that's just my opinion,
She does.
Yep.
She tries. She's like, maybe you need to find somebody better suited.
Base level cruelty to animals? Come on.
Can't have real love without killing a few doves.
That's fair.
I think we have very different ways of dating. All right, date 1, coffee vibe check. Date 2, maybe dinner at his place. Date 3, kill an ox. No, a dove.
The ox is for later.
Yeah, that's date 5, date 6.
Right.
The two girls are Sally and Gillian. Is it Gillian or Jillian?
Jillian.
I thought it was
Jillian,
Jillian,
okay.
but they call her Gilly as a
Jilly.
short.
They call her
I've
Jilly.
met women. Oh, do they call her Jilly? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. But I have known women in my life that their name was Jillian, but people called them Gilly.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it could kind of go either way. I've never met a woman named Gillian, though.
So Sally casts a spell on herself as a child to ensure that she's only gonna fall in love with like this impossible man that doesn't exist.
With 2 different color eyes.
Yeah,
She must have been
right.
watching a David Bowie concert right before this. Or...
We'll hear her call from a mile away.
And am I wrong? Did the guy at the end, did he have 2 different color eyes? Because I must have missed that. If that was
It
the
felt
case.
like it was a late thing because I was watching him early on to see if he had 2 different color eyes. As soon as we met him and they kind of gave each other that look, I was like, I want to see his eyes. I want to see his eyes. Nope, they're both blue or like a tealish blue or something like that. And then I think at the end, at one point I looked at him and it looked like his eyes were subtly a different color. And I'm like, I feel like you just retconned that in your own movie. Like you could have just gone back and changed it in your own movie. But
Yeah,
no.
they only did it in the one scene.
Yeah,
It's only in that one scene.
Wow.
Really? So you noticed it too? It wasn't just my imagination?
Yeah, nope, it's just the one scene where she says, one thing I want to do.
Wow. Like what? Okay.
That's cheap.
Look,
Hey,
I love the movie, but
I don't want to hear you say that after Rise of Skywalker. I don't want to hear. That's too convenient of a plot contrivance. Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. Anyways, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a movie I love, but there's, still issues.
We're not doing that trial anymore. That trial is over. There's no appeal process for that movie.
I've already busted it out of the clink. And, we're free now. We're free and happy together. So they grow up. We show them as we see the girls as teenagers, and now played by, or I guess is it teenagers or late or young adults?
I'd say they're teenagers here.
Okay.
I'd say they're teenagers. I'd say like 17, 18.
Now played by Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock.
That's Mrs. Tom Cruise to you, sir?
At this point, it was definitely.
Oh, was it?
Tom Cruise.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
This is right after Eyes
around the
Wide
time.
Shut.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Like, there, I try not to. I'm not saying anything really bad, but like, good Lord, Nicole Kidman is such a beautiful human being. Like, it's so unfair. Like, I almost get like sad that other people in the world don't look like her almost, because she's so pretty. I don't know.
She is.
She makes my heart go a little flutter every time she comes on screen. Every time she's on screen, I should say.
I've honestly always thought that she had kind of a RBF going on.
Maybe I'm into that. I don't know. I've dated some some angry people in my day, so
fair enough.
It's my constant optimism. That's what it balances it out for sure.
So Nicole Kidman runs off with her boyfriend to Los Angeles, and before she leaves, they make a pact, a swear to always be there for each other.
That scene, you have the weirdest thing, because you see Sandra Bullock wearing glasses in the movie for the only time you'll ever see her, and they have Jillian running around wearing the tiny little skirt and the tiny little shirt, and she's running away with her boyfriend, and you have Sally wearing these big, thick glasses and a chenille robe that she's got tucked up right around her neck, and it's just like the complete nerd stereotype.
Yeah,
this sister's cool and this sister's a nerd.
Yeah, definitely one of the cool kids and one of the dorky kids, complete with the glasses, the hair kind of frumpy, everything, no makeup, or what makeup they have is to make look like completely, just foundation, just no blush to them at all.
And then she never wears glasses again.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the classic from the 90s to the 2000s. You always can tell a woman is, coming into her own when she takes her glasses off. She's immediately,
You're so ugly and nerdy. Take your glasses off and become the beautiful Sandra Bullock.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
right.
like Jawbreaker when we saw that. The same kind of transformation. She's all that. Just it keeps happening over and over again. And then all of a sudden, somehow in like 2012, 2014, maybe a little bit earlier than that, it became more popular or more in style for women to adopt the really nerdy look. So now all of a sudden the big glasses and stuff like that is in, and that's when like male culture or some internet culture was like, get out of our hobby, you posers. And I'm like, shut up. Like, all the women are dressing like nerds. We're cool now. Stop jinxing it. Like, let it happen. Anyways.
I have a note here that says, who dances at a pool like that? Because we see the exploits of Jillian, and there's a hot summer party at a pool, and it's her and like 3 dudes just standing around her outside the pool, dancing so fucking awkwardly that I do not know what to make of this. And who dances at a pool like that? It's a legitimate question, I feel.
It's a great question.
I don't know. You take the pool away, and I don't know. I've seen some crowds of drunk white people dance, and it's not. Just turn the volume up on that, like it's there's not really a whole lot of coherence to it sometimes. But I mean, it is obvious though, to your point, in all seriousness, you can tell that this is, if you took the narration away, the overdub, what everybody's talking about while you're just watching her, this would be so, like, it's drawn for that. That's why that scene exists, so that you can have somebody talking over it, and she's just pantomiming one-dimensional characteristics.
Sure, they're like rushing us to contemporary modern times by showing us their exploits. So while she's off dancing with multiple guys around a pool,
which real quick, you have to give them credit that they covered a lot of backstory in a pretty decent You know, like
They did.
Like we went from the Salem trials to their birth, to their teenage years, to their 20s, to their 30s, and now when we catch them, I'm guessing they're in their like mid 30s, that kind of thing. So, you know, they did it pretty concisely. Good for them.
Yeah, because we see that Sally has gotten married to a man named Michael and has 2 daughters, another redhead and a brunette, just like them. And if you look at the aunts, they're also a brunette and a redhead. I'm wondering if that's part of the curse too.
Yeah,
is that there's always going to be a brunette and a redhead.
Yeah,
is it part of the curse, or is it just that lazy storytelling of these people are related? See how this carries every generation.
Right.
Yeah, and when you think of the average Irish person, whether they're man or woman, you think, well, they either have dark brown hair or they have red hair. Those are the 2 stereotypes you think of with Irish people. And everything in this movie kind of feels like it's Irish adjacent, Celt adjacent. Like I don't think they explicitly ever say that they're Irish or anything like that. But as somebody that I grew up with a lot of Irish heritage around me, it felt very. Even the music, I would say, like there were a few times with the music that they used like sliding fiddles for the soundtrack, and I thought it was really interesting because the movie started on such a weird. I don't want to use pomp, but my brain keeps wanting to call it pomp, fanfare type music, and then all of a sudden I hear these sliding fiddles, and I'm like, oh, this is like. There was this weird thing that happened with music where, at least I've heard some people describe it this way, where when the Irish came over during what some might call the Great Famine, some might call the attempted genocide of the Irish people, and the Irish people were in America, they brought their music with them, and the Gaelic reels and the Irish jigs and stuff like that, and that slowly morphed in Appalachia and in the South into what we would consider like bluegrass and fiddling and stuff like that. And I felt like there was this connection with that music where, like, if this was intentional, and it felt like it was, like, I don't know why you would put sliding fiddles into this movie otherwise, because it doesn't necessarily make you think magic. But I thought that was an interesting way of connecting the current world to the old world through music, in a way. Maybe I overthought it. I probably did, but
I think maybe you might have.
maybe, just touch. Be the first time and the last time.
So, but Sally is hearing the telltale sign, the call of the Death Watch beetle, which I just want to point out, I looked it up after this movie, and they just use a regular, like, garden beetle.
Yes.
The Death Watch beetle is actually kind of lumpy and moldy looking and cool, and they probably should have used the actual thing, because it looks a little more ominous and threatening, but
People wouldn't have
digress.
associated it with a beetle then. It would have been confusing to audiences.
It also doesn't make the same sound.
Yeah, right.
This is one of those movies where we've talked about it before, and maybe you probably listened to the episode before, Jamie, but where some movies have a lot of faith in the audience and some movies don't. Some movies feel like they got to hold your fucking hand from point A to point B to point C. And there are some things, like this might be one of those things in this movie where, you know, you could have had a little bit more faith in your audience and we would have gotten there on our own.
Right.
Who knows? That might come back in our analysis more.
And this brings us to my first big LOL of the movie, where we get like the slapstick rom-com version of a Final Destination sequence with her husband who's doing his deliveries or whatever, and we see, oh my god, it's the bicycle bicycle mob.
The Tour de
race
France
mob.
is coming through.
The Tour de France is coming through Maine, wherever they are, Salem.
And it's the beginning, too, where all the bikes are together. Like, normally in a bike race, they'd all be staggered. No, you're right there in the beginning, sir. How did you not get the memo that your little-ass hick town is hosting the Tour de France today? You know, like...
But, so they're filming it like, oh my goodness, they're gonna kill him, you know, when these, first of all, I'm thinking like, like maybe he gets a bruise if a biker hits him or whatever. They're playing it up like this is the death or whatever. And then he literally looks into the camera and smiles, like practically wipes his forehead, like, whoo!
Perfect.
Got out of that one, and then turns around and it's a beep, beep, fucking
semi
bus.
just appears out of nowhere. It's like, is it going to be this bike? Is it going to be this like? All the bikes are flipping past him. Oh, he just barely made it. Sorry, fucking truck. Bam. It was like, what the fuck?
Car, bang, fuck, I'm dead.
I shit you not, I laughed out loud. It was very funny to me.
I love
There's
it.
a couple of parts in this movie that are very, very funny to me.
And how do you? They had to do that on purpose, right? That there's no way that they're that funny on accident. I mean, I guess it's possible, but
I don't know, man. The tone of this movie, I don't know.
I will say that one of the things that I do like about the movie does take place in that scene, and it takes place in other places in the movie too. But he is being followed all the way to work by a black dog the whole way.
Mm.
So she's hearing the beetle ticking, and he's being followed the whole way by a black dog. And black dogs are another symbol of imminent death.
really?
I actually did not notice the black dog. That's very cool.
I've never
Yeah.
heard that about a black dog either. Like I didn't
Really?
know that was
The Grim.
Oh, right,
You're Irish and you
right. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I've heard of the Grim. Yeah, I never associate a black dog. Like I'm too much of a dog lover. Dogs are dogs. I like all dogs. They're black. They're white.
I love
they're
black dogs,
yellow,
and you should know that.
brown.
So he dies, and I laugh, but then I have the thought, I'm like, wow, this selfish woman knew that this was going to happen and just did it anyway. But then she takes her kids to live with her witchy aunts, just like her and her sister did. It's revealed that they actually cast a spell on her to make her fall in love so that she would be happy and fulfilled. And so that kind of gives her a little bit of a tiff, right, where she says that you'll never teach my daughter's magic.
So again, I'm lost a little bit on their logic. So according to these women, in these women's minds, if she falls in love with somebody, he's going to die. And they're like, well, that's such a sad existence. We're going to go ahead and let you fall in love and let him die. Like, what? If they believe in one curse, then why did they go with the second one? Like, why did they cast the magic to let her fall in love if they knew it was going to end poorly? You know what I'm saying? Like, you and I we'd be like, well, the fucking curse doesn't matter, so go ahead and let her fall in love. But they believed the curse, right? So were they trying to like do her dirty?
Only one of them believes the curse.
Yeah.
They made that pretty clear. The other one's like, oh, the only curse in this family is your aunt at the end of the table. But they also don't see men as anything more than expendable. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, when you read the books, they're pretty expendable.
See, I would have liked a more emphasis on that in the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree. They definitely make it very clear in the books that, yes, love is important, you need to fall in love, blah, 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 blah. But really, women are way more important than men.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. At least not in public. You know, I'm going to save those for those private Discord messages between Keith and I. Am I right? All right.
yep, on the anti-woman chat board that we started.
Yeah. Womensuck.com. You know, I mean, that's our secret.
Men going their own way.
Boys rule, women drool. I don't know. So this is based off of novels then? Yeah. Yes. So, just a novel.
It was a novel, and now there's a whole series of novels that have come out after the fact.
Prequels, yeah.
But you skipped over the whole part where she comes begging them to bring him back.
Oh, right.
It never fails. That scene every time gets me. Like, it chokes me up because she does such a good job begging, and we've all been there. Where there's somebody that you lost, so you're like, I don't care, I just want them back.
And then you see the monkey paw curl, you know?
Right. It's very, very Pet Cemetery, you know? I was a little interested, actually. I was like, oh, is he going to come back and be all, like, fucked up and evil or something?
I was thinking of a different classic. I was thinking Thriller, Michael Jackson, music video. But yes, same.
Oh, yeah.
Same exact emotion. Same.
Why do you do this?
So he comes back like a cat. Gotcha.
Or like a dancer.
Oh my god, fate worse than that.
Hey, you know,
like a demon.
There are worse things to be than dancing like Michael fucking Jackson, because, you know, that man could twinkle some toes.
Amen.
Oh,
yeah,
wait, maybe I should phrase that a little differently.
I heard that he twinkled quite a few toes.
How about we have one? Can we have one episode where we don't talk about, you know,
sexual deviance
in some way, whether it's, you know, assault or bestiality, or interspecies, or just one day.
No matter how pure the movie is, you guys just devolve.
Yeah, this movie was totally wholesome. It only had
murder,
murder and sexual assault at some point. Lots of drug use.
Yep.
Well, speaking of, this is about the point in the film where Jillian contacts Sally to let her know that she's fallen in with an abusive asshole.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's calling her from the bathroom. Help me. Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how far away these people are, but they made it almost sound like Sally is on the East Coast and Jillian is like in L.A. And I'm like, honey, even if you got out now, it's gonna be like 18 hours before you're gonna be there. There's nothing you can do about that. But they find a way to get to each other quickly.
It's magic.
Like even when Jillian comes home for one night and then leaves again right afterwards, like I'm like, you just flew all that way. Take a break. Like
right.
Stay for at least one day. It's not gonna fucking kill you. Well.
So Sally comes to rescue her sister, and this guy, what was his name? Jimmy
Angelov.
Jimmy Angelov.
Yeah.
He's a pure scumbag, and takes them both hostage in his car shortly after her arrival.
And even at the party early on, where they kind of allude to seeing him in the background, it was like, I don't know, everybody I'm sure got the same vibe, like, what's up with that douche? Like, you could have gone home with one of the Brads from the goddamn party, and they would have been mindless, but you wouldn't be fucking dead, so...
Right. No, you had to hook up with Chris Angel instead.
Yeah, you had to hook up with the guy that looks like a villain from a 90s action movie. Go ahead, see where that leads you.
Yeah. It was like the bad guy from Blade in a couple. I mean, not Blade, The Crow in a couple of respects. He was the only one at the summer pool party with like black leather. And, like,
everybody's like, "Wow, he looks really cool," and everybody's like, "Yeah, no." He's sitting there going, "No, my legs are burning up right now. They've swollen 3 sizes. I'm sweating out my asshole right now." What were you saying, Jamie?
I'm just saying that sometimes we women we fall for the walking red flags.
You're not alone. I get it. It's this. That's not a women, like we all are.
Yeah, that's not exclusive to women.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I can't speak for others. I can only speak for women.
So, in trying to end this situation, Sandra Bullock puts belladonna into Jimmy's drink.
A lot of belladonna. That was a lot of belladonna.
He was gonna go sleep. He's gonna go sleepy sleep.
Enough to accidentally kill him, right?
Oops.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this brings me to my second and third LOLs of this movie. Because he's dead, they take him back to the aunt's house and use a forbidden spell to bring him back to life. He instantly attacks Nicole Kidman, and they kill him again. It's like a...
Yep, you brought him back to life just to kill him a second time.
Yeah, instantly. He's only back for a couple of minutes, and in the middle of all this, when he comes back as Borat?
My wife!
Right? Is this the scene?
Yeah.
Where he comes back and he's like, my wife, I make you my wife! So
maybe that's what happens. Dark and unnatural Borat, they kind of go together.
I go to America!
So Borat just died once. That's why he acts so fucked up.
They brought him back and didn't kill him, and that's how he got to be the way
and forgot the pins. Because maybe with the pins, maybe if they managed the pins, he'd have been okay, but they didn't get the pins.
So please, Kelley, I really need a comparison to go bing right here of the my wife's, because it was uncanny when I heard I'll make you my wife.
I will. I did not hear that, but I will. We'll put them up next to each other, and right here you're going to look either brilliant or you're going to look like a dumbass. Either way, so you live or die by that.
I want you to be my wife. Can you promise me that? I want you to be my wife. I want you to be my wife. I want you to be my wife.
Because he didn't come off as overly European sounding during when the rest of the time he was talking. So
I don't know, he had an accent. He had an Eastern European accent. It felt like to me, but it was kind of. She said he was
mild.
from Transylvania. Yeah, but it was it felt like somebody saying, "Hey, Jerry, can you do an Eastern European accent?" And he's like, "What do you mean Eastern European?" And he's like, like
which
Ukrainian,
is
like Dracula. He's like, "Oh, like I want to suck your blood." Yeah, close enough, buddy. Just go run with it.
He is from Bulgaria, and he did change it. They were like, no, we like your accent. Let's keep it.
Oh, okay. So he's actually Borat. And it just came spilling out.
Wow, it's very nice.
I have a couple things that I want to point out here because we've kind of moved past the scenes, but I just want to point out a couple things that I really liked about this movie because I feel like I'm picking on it a lot, and there were some really good things to talk about. One, there were a couple times where we saw scenes that in a traditional movie of this era, we would have seen a very sexualized view. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, the male gaze. And it's often like where the camera is looking at the female's body, that kind of thing, looking at the woman's body. So imagine, there was a scene where she's working on, I think it was the grave or something like that, but she was bent over. Sandra Bullock was bent over wearing shorts and working on something in the dirt. And the camera, like the bottom of the frame was right at around her hips. So you didn't see her ass in the picture. And I was like, and it's such a small thing, but I was like, if a different person put this movie together, we would have been seeing like a slow pan up from her feet so we could get a really wide picture of her ass. Not that her ass is wide, or you know what I'm saying?
If Quentin Tarantino directed this, we would have just stayed on her feet.
Stayed on her feet. Yeah, it would have been a most artistic movie of the year. Give him his fucking Oscar. He's got a fetish that he can commercialize. God bless you. If all of us could capitalize on our kinks, it'd be done for. But I thought that's really nice that it was a movie that had a couple of very attractive women in it that did not focus on the male gaze. It allowed their beauty to speak for itself without being overly sexualized.
Yep, I agree. And there was no like lingering, sketchy shots or anything like that throughout pretty much the whole thing. And
that kind of leans into what I said earlier about this movie is adult without being explicit. This deals with a lot of adult feelings, like when you were saying earlier about her crying about just bring him back, I love him, just bring him back kind of thing. Like, we all know what that feels like. Even though looking back, like when I felt that before, I was wrong for wanting this person back that caused me so much pain, or whatever the situation is, or, like even if you're talking about a loved one that passed away, like you wouldn't want them to come back in some kind of like weird undead form, whatever. So it deals with a lot of adult topics, like going after the wrong person, dealing with an abusive partner, the backlash that can happen, the bonds of family and how they can help you through rough times if you have a strong support group, like all these things that are really adult topics, but it never gets explicit. We don't linger on any kind of sexual assault. We don't linger on a lot of physical assault. There's a couple of moments where it's almost implied or we see after the fact, but the movie producers didn't do it in a way that's supposed to titillate people that would get into that. And
right, it wasn't indulgent.
No, not by any means. They touched on it and moved on, and also it felt like all those moments were important for informing us about the character. It wasn't used just to give a male inspiration to become the best version of himself, that kind of thing that we often see. So like, good for them.
Or even used to fetishize those moments.
Yep. And this movie automatically gets a small bump from me because they use Joni Mitchell, A Case of You, which I fucking love that song. That is one of the coolest like folk songs ever written, and I will die on that cross. Not that there's the whole vocal anti-Joni Mitchell crowd, but beautiful. There was some moments of the soundtrack that were really great. But anyways, I just wanted to say those before we moved on past these scenes, because now we're going to get into Ash versus the Evil Dead, but the female version of it.
Yeah. So they bury him. They bury Borat under the rose garden, and then
it wasn't a rose garden. It wasn't a rose garden.
It wasn't Borat either, but
rose bush.
No, it was literally nothing. There was nothing there.
Oh, it just sprouted up.
Yeah, that's what threw everybody off, is that they just buried him under the ground. And then the next day, there was a fucking rose bush.
Yeah, and the little kids say
something
something creepy about like the man in the rose bush.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
But before that, we have what I wrote down as insufferable, I believe, is the midnight margarita scene.
Oh,
how is it insufferable? That is like every woman wants that.
I thought it was great. I put margarita spell. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I love margaritas. I don't blend them. When I used to drink them back in the day, I would froze them with salt. Or I'm sorry, on the rocks with salt.
On the rocks with salt, yes.
But I thought that was it might have been a little bit cringy because, like, you know, whatever. But
They were all truly drunk in it.
the idea of, like, these women that would make spells all the time, and then they would get together and they would cast a margarita spell, and it would make them all have a good time. That's the effect of the margarita spell. I loved it. I loved it. It was just a spin.
Sure, but they're blasting lime in the coconut, and the thought that I had during the scene, I was like, are the children not sleeping in this house right now? Like
what
they
part
are.
of this house made you think that these children were ever going to be raised well?
Yeah, like they have chocolate for breakfast. I mean, even in my family,
We don't
like,
care about homework.
neither of my parents were really all that big of drinkers, but there were times when I was a child where the whole family staying together, and I go to bed at 10 p.m. and I wake up at 12:30 to all the adults singing and dancing to some loud music in the other room, and I come out bleary-eyed like, what the heck is going on? They're like, go to bed, Kelley, everything's fine.
Right.
This is for the adults.
Yeah,
This is adult
I can
time.
see it.
I imagine the kids up in their beds holding their pillows over their ears going, for fuck's sake, again? You know,
The margarita spell.
Yeah.
When are we going to
Again?
cast the sleep spell? When are we going to cast the going to bed at a reasonable hour spell?
I have to be up at 5:30 for school.
You get the sense that Jillian and Sally had never been able to go to Midnight Margaritas because Sally hasn't been around. But they knew instantly what it was, and they took off downstairs because as kids they heard it and couldn't.
And it was a
predict-
special occasion because Jillian was home and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I didn't see this as a regular occurrence. That's why they lit up so much when they heard the margarita spell being cast, because it was like, ooh, I remember this. Hey, we can actually, let's go do it. But then we find out that the margarita spell was a little bit more nefarious than we realized, because why are we drinking this tequila out of this specific brand of bottle that the only person that we know of that would carry this is the dead guy? And speaking of which, why are we throwing a party and drinking a bunch of booze when you know there's a dead guy right outside?
It's a murder party. They just murdered a man, and you know, as women are wont to do. They
send all hate mail to Keith at Screen Share and Chill.
You know, the ants don't know. The ants just found the bottle of tequila and were like, free tequila means margaritas.
Yeah,
that's fair.
This rose bush showed up in our property out of nowhere, and our girls are acting all sketchy, and there's blood on their hands and stuff like that. Let's get drunk. Let's see what happens when we get drunk.
Right.
Oh, look, there's a ghost outside. Let's just leave. Let's tell them, you know, hey, this is some really hard shit you're about to deal with, and then just ghost them right afterwards.
And I have a little bit of trouble following the timeline. Is it literally the very next day that the investigator shows up?
I took it as the very next morning, their aunts are gone, and the cop shows up. That's the way my brain had put together. Like, they didn't get any respite at all to even investigate the man that was maybe stalking them that was dead, because they immediately had to deal with the aunts being gone. They got to deal with the kids and the kid's life, and then the cop shows up right afterwards. But luckily, they all notice that he's got two different color eyes, so they know that he's going to fall in love with one of them. Oh, no, nobody noticed that because it wasn't... Never.
Right. It wasn't part of the movie until it needed to be.
Not yet.
Sandra Bullock is successfully portrays someone who's terrible at lying. I appreciated that. I was just like, wow, you are really, really terrible at trying to throw
the kind of person
this.
that knows they're so bad at lying that they don't even talk. They just look away when you ask them a question. Like, if you look at me, you're going to know immediately. So I have to just look at anything else.
So he's instantly on their case because she slips up and says that's my car or whatever, and he's like, no, that's Jimmy Angelove's car. You know. So what happened here? And we have a little chunk of the movie now where he's about town, you know, and investigating whatever he can find out since he knows his car is here. He thinks maybe they're hiding him, you know. He's looking into him for probably several offenses. I would think
there were at least 4 different pictures of people on the table, so at least 4 offenses. But
during this course of investigation, he hears all about how they're witches that live in that house. That, you know, everyone in town knows and is telling him they cook up the placenta, and they've always been weird and all of that.
Which, you know, even if they're not witches, when we watch the two aunties walking through town earlier, like, we were led to believe that these women are unfairly judged and ostracized from the town. But in the short time we see them walking downtown, they cut in front of a goddamn horse. The horse backs up and they're like, "Oh, don't worry about it, Harold." And then they immediately start gossiping about the people they're staring at. So I'm like, why do you think everybody hates you? Like, they're never saying witch. They're just calling you a bitch. That's all they're doing. And you're misunderstanding the entire thing. But anyways,
and also, like, they're dressed completely out of time. They were embracing that whole, like, weird old lady trope to the T.
Yeah. And then otherwise, I mean, you're cutting horses off in the middle of traffic and then, gossiping about people to their face. So, I mean, it's not a wonder that, people don't like you. You don't like them either. So it goes both ways.
The part that I didn't understand, because they showed it and they showed him see this, but there's like no reaction. He keeps encountering her in town, and there's a scene where she goes into her shop where she sells, quote unquote potions. It's basically like essential oil tinctures and medications, and
shampoo and soap.
Yeah. She's
an apothecary at the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah, right, exactly that. But he sees her using witchcraft to stir her coffee. Like, we see the wooden stick, and
a little Harry Potter in her world.
Yeah, all he does is do a little like head tilt, like, and a little slight smile, like, that's cute or whatever.
Seeing her use casual magic to stir her coffee, it doesn't make him rethink existence and think about, is magic real? Which religion has it right? What happens when we die? He all of a sudden thinks, wow, this woman is really quirky and cute, and she might be the person that did the murder, because if she's lying about her magic, then she might be lying about something else too. It's just a piece of evidence. Like, if you see somebody doing magic in the world, your entire view of reality will probably shatter the moment that happens. You'll go through, like, either complete... maybe that's what he's crisis. Doing. Yeah. He's completely rebuking the information. His brain is going, nuh-uh, didn't fucking happen. And, like, I don't know. It's pure rejection. He just rejected the evidence. He didn't want to...
He's not a very good investigator, first of all. Like, everything in this points to the fact that the man is...
He's not even good at keeping his eyes the same color, Jamie, so I don't know why we're expecting him to be good at investigation. And then he just stalks her around town for what... I don't know if that's supposed to be one day, but it feels like it's like a 2 or 3 day span. Like, I don't care if you... Imagine a cop from another town came into your town and just followed you everywhere you went. Like, dude, I'd be calling the cops in my own town going, can somebody get this guy off my ass?
What is your issue? What is going on? Why are you here?
I'm like ducking out the back of the local diner, trying to get out back so we can't see where I leave. I'm getting on a dirt bike, riding off into the mountains, taking a raft down to the nearby town.
A couple of important things from this section is one of the times he's interrogating her. He's after he's found out about the witchcraft allegations, he's talking to her, and she mentions that, oh, you have a badge. Does that have any inherent power? No, it's just a symbol, and it has power because you believe in it. That's going to come up later in a very funny way. But also, I liked her line when he straight up asked her. He's like, "Sally, did you kill Jimmy Angelov?" And she says, "Oh yeah, a couple of times."
Yeah, that's how the liar gets away with it. Just be honest and do it with sarcasm. Nobody will know the difference.
Right.
Because she did. She killed him twice.
Yeah, full on confession right there to his lack of knowledge. Well, it's time to get Evil Dead, like you said, because Sally comes home to realize that Jimmy's spirit has possessed Gillian's body, and it's even like, popping out and like teasing a little bit. And it's I'm like, okay, well, we're a full-on horror movie now, all of a sudden. I mean, I know there's been murder and stuff, but now we have evil spirit possession.
But it's slightly funny.
Yeah, it is slightly funny.
It's hocus pocus with Evil Dead, and like, I don't know, name a rom-com from the Hallmark Channel. It's like, it's a lot of these. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that combined the slapstick artificial world, the fantasy world of Hocus Pocus with, like, it's very weird. It doesn't know exactly where it's going 100% of the time. Like me with that sentence. I wasn't sure where I was going with it, but maybe that's because the movie has enchanted me.
There you go.
And so, Gary is the name of the guy with the not but really does have two different colored eyes. The investigator.
Gary.
Yeah.
Gary. They could have picked any name to be
Right.
the sexy hunk man. They picked Gary.
Named after a snail. I mean, come on.
What are we going to name the hero? Let's call him Bill.
Gary. Gary's a good name. Strong name. So Jimmy tries possessing Gary or killing him or something, like reaching into his chest.
I'd say killing him.
And he's screaming. I'm like, oh,
he was doing the Indiana Jones thing, the Kali Ma thing on his chest.
But he's thwarted and turned away by the power of his magical sheriff's badge or whatever.
Yep, the power of the police.
And the star.
The power of the police compels you.
The power of the precinct compels you.
Yeah. I got another laugh out of me.
So I'm just curious, like, if he were just a beat cop and his shield was bronze or copper or whatever it is, like, would that work, or would it just kind of repel him? Would it cause
it's like the vampire thing. One of my favorite vampire stories is Salem's Lot, and there's a full-on priest who's, holding the cross at the vampire, and he shies away at first, but then he realizes the priest doesn't actually have faith, so the cross is useless. Yeah. It's about, belief in your symbols and stuff. And so this guy really believes in the police.
You dumb bastard.
That gives him the power to thwart evil demonic spirits with it. And I was rolling my eyes at the magical police.
It's the movie showing its age, because this is at the era when being a cop was still cool in movies.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know. The fact that his shield is like a goddamn cross, and it's repelling the vampire, which is just the evil, abusive ex-boyfriend. Like, you combine all of these words into a sentence, and somebody listening to it sounds like I'm describing, like, the batshit stuff in Twilight. It's like somebody wrote this down and I'm like, no, there's a whole fucking movie about this. You should watch it. Like,
so she confesses to Gary that he's there because of her childhood spell. And she's worried about, like, it's so weird to have this conversation while your sister is possessed, but that's where we are.
And while he's investigating you for murder, and
right,
yeah. Like, right as you're getting ready to, like, get it on, that's when you decide to jump on that. This
feels much like a video game where it's like the world is ending, but you got time to foster a romance with this other character right before you go on your suicide mission, kind of thing. It's,
right.
Yeah, and that's where, like, it felt like this movie, the rom-com stuff it feels like it's literally just stapled in to the script. Like, you could lift the rom-com stuff out of this and it would be a fine movie. It would have been largely the same movie. And it kind of, when we get to the ending, in my opinion, the fact that they rom-commed it up kind of cheapens the whole message, but we'll talk about that. So that's my very last note on it, so... Oh, yeah, and another thing, when he burned his ring, when he was holding the flame to his ring to brand somebody, do you all think about how fucking hot that ring is?
For real, I think he's burning himself.
Yeah, you were literally burning a metal thing to your finger to try to burn somebody else. It's so hot that me putting it against your skin for 2 seconds will brand you forever. I'm going to wear it for 5 fucking minutes while it's doing it.
Right.
Well, he did it to multiple people, so he's developed a callus there now.
Yeah, right there on his left finger, he's got this big brown ring on his finger where it's like really calloused and shit. People look at him and think, "Wow, that's a very specific injury."
It's like mom hands, how she can grab stuff off the stove without
yeah.
Pot holders and
they
stuff.
got the callus right there on the pad of their hand. Yeah.
That's a little, we passed it up a little, but that was kind of a funny scene where they're out there and the frog just pukes up the ring the guy was looking for.
And everybody's just sitting there staring at the frog too, like.
And it's kind of a recycling of the whole spiel about how they're covering up what they did, but Nicole Kidman's like, "Oh, that's my ring," and he's like, "Oh, that's your ring? No, that's Jimmy Angelo's ring." But it was just kind of silly and funny to have the frog right there, just burp up the ring, as a little foil for their plan. But
I can imagine the rom-com is so stapled in that, like, the frog belches up this ring and it's still got, like, frog spittle all over it. And Hunky Cop looks at the woman and goes, "Was that your ring?" And she goes, "No, I prefer gold." And he goes, "Me too." And the music swells and they look into each other's eyes. Everybody's like, "Hello, there's a fucking ghost trying to kill people here. Like, what are you doing?"
You got haunted frogs. So you better take care of that. So it's time for a seance, everybody.
When is it not time for a seance? Really? I mean,
always
true.
Time for a seance.
What was the
There's
number?
There's never a bad time.
They needed
13.
12 people? 13. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So they call all their
Because 13 is a very important number in witchcraft, apparently.
well,
Not any Wiccans that I've ever met. It's all threes and stuff like that with Wiccans. It's nothing 13. 13 is from the Christian church, from the orders of the Knights Templar, all that stuff. That's where the 13 came from.
I will say that all of this was they hired an actual witch person to consult on the movie. And
really?
She did consult, yep. Because Wicca isn't the end-all be-all of witch religions. They had actually hired a witch to do consulting on the movie, who then blackmailed them.
Oh, I didn't catch the blackmail part. I was thinking about the weird thing. What? They blackmailed?
Yeah, she blackmailed them. She said that if they didn't pay her more money, that she was going to hex the production.
Okay, what kind of witch? Like, if you understand enough about Wiccan arts or whatever you want to call them, spell casting and stuff like that, using a spell, like threatening somebody with a spell, is such bad. Like, that'll be what is it saying? That'll be returned on you threefold or something like that. Any ill you
that's Wicca.
Perform on anybody.
She wasn't a Wiccan witch.
What was she?
She doesn't believe that. It doesn't ever say. But they ended up giving into her. They fought it. The studio was like, nuh-uh,
So
here's her money.
Wow. Well, I guess they kind of deserve. No, am I victim blaming? Am I victim blaming somebody getting blackmailed by? You paid her? Well, you fucking deserve it then.
Why do you do this?
Wow.
She went to the director first, and he was like, "Nope, not happening." And then she went to the studio, and they were like, "Okay."
Did she have a reason for it? Like, did they wrong her or something, or did she was
no,
just doing it purely for monetary gain?
Yeah.
Wow.
What don't you fucking understand? I'm gonna fucking kick your fucking ass. What don't you fucking understand? I'm gonna fucking kick your fucking ass. What don't you fucking understand? I'm gonna fucking kick your fucking ass. What don't you fucking understand? Give me a fucking answer.
A couple of cringe parts that I'd want to point out. We're pretty much near the end of the movie now, so I did not really like the fact that they compared Sandra Bullock. I mean, maybe it was okay, but okay, when she comes out as a witch, they treat it as coming out, like she's coming out as gay. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, we're beyond the point in society by the time this movie came out where that needs to be like, you don't need to draw that comparison in that way. I don't know. It felt weird to me, but I'm not a lesbian, so what the fuck do I know? But yeah, that in the very least, when they were treating it like, oh, she's coming out of the closet. Oh, she's gay. No, she's a witch. I thought that was it was just like, I rolled my eyes at it. I didn't think it was offensive. I didn't think it was fucking horrible and should be removed from the movie. I just think it was like, really? Okay, cool. I mean,
right.
And my other final point of cringe, I mean, unless somebody says something that makes me think of more, is the ending, where basically, like, Sandra Bullock's character gets the dream ending she wants. She's married to the handsome guy with the 1.5 different eye colors, and they have their wonderful life together, and we're led to believe that, well, see, everything does work out, and everything's wonderful. Everything does work out, and everything's wonderful, and everybody's happy, and the fate happened the way it wanted to go. And I wanted us to, like, pan to the clouds and see a picture of her first husband going, what the fuck? What about me, guys? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, the only difference is she didn't believe the curse anymore, so I had the bad fortune of marrying a woman while she was still really superstitious. But since she's come out of the closet and she's no longer superstitious, now... fuck me, because now he gets to hang out with my kids. He gets to hang out with my wife. The motherfucker can't even remember what eye color he has. So I don't know what he's doing with my wife. So
I will say, in general, the theme of the books and the tone of the books is completely different than the movie. It is a lot darker all around. It's not a happy. Let's just say it's not a happy ending like it looks like.
It's just like what Kelley said, that you can feel it wanting to go to these dark places the whole time and just pulling back before it's allowed to breathe in that.
I imagine the book was probably great, because I imagine the book probably didn't shy away from like those really heavy moments, and the movie, it felt like it tried to neuter itself at every passing turn.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It did, and it's actually the answer not hardly in the book at all. The house that plays such a big part in this movie is barely mentioned in the book. It's a lot different.
I would actually slightly be, if they ever, I know they're doing a sequel, you said, so it's probably a lost dream, but if they actually ever did a faithful adaptation of the book from what you're saying of it, I would probably be interested to compare that just to see how it holds up against this, because it just felt like it either it didn't know what it wanted to be or it knew what it was and it didn't want to be that, so it was trying to be something else. I don't know.
I would say that it knew what it was and the studio didn't want it to be that.
Yeah, fair.
So the real question is then, let's start with Jamie, because it's your movie. Jamie, what are your final thoughts about the movie, and would you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
You really want to do this? Here. Now? Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's do it!
I will always give this movie a thumbs up. It is definitely one of my favorites. It has a lot of cheesy moments. It doesn't really fit into any one genre, but I love it. I love the camp of it. I love the kind of twisted take on the darkness. Like, oh, we're gonna kill him, but let's make some jokes about it. I don't know. I love this movie. I will always thumb up this movie.
I would imagine there's a lot of crossover between this and Hocus Pocus fans. This feels like it exists in the same universe kind of thing. Keith, what are your final thoughts about the movie, and did you like it? Would you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Well, I enjoyed watching it because I like analyzing movies and so laughing at them a little bit in this case. For me personally, for my taste, it didn't do much for me, so it's kind of a thumbs down. Not to say that it's a bad movie that you shouldn't watch. I'm sure that
hey, you don't have to quibble. You don't have to rationalize your decision making.
I can definitely see how this would be entertaining, and we said the term chick flick.
Yeah, you've been demeaning to women. You're calling this a shitty movie. That's it. You're on the list.
So it's a thumbs down for me personally.
You're on a waiting list somewhere, mister. I don't know which one, but you're on a waiting list.
What about you, Kelley?
This is one of those where it would be kind of thumb in the middle, do what you want, to a certain degree. It kind of sits in the middle because there are some really cool things about it. Like, I can feel the heart of this movie trying to go dark, and that's cool. Nicole and Sandra both did amazing jobs at they're largely one-dimensional characters a lot of times. It feels like they pulled them into three-dimensional space a lot of times. So I think they did a wonderful job. They're both obviously just fun to watch. They have natural pop charisma, so that's good. The music was fun, even though I was curious about the themes of the music at some points, but I thought that connection with the fiddles and everything, if that was intentional, that was brilliant. That was inspired composing, in my opinion. So yeah, it sits in the middle. However, because it is so good at not centering on the male gaze, where it felt like if there's such a thing as a female gaze, this was there. And I mean that in the positive way, that the negative connotation for male gaze, I would put the positive on the female gaze, and the way I'm using it right now, that the camera served the movie. The camera didn't serve titillating the viewer's eyes and making them feel sexualized. Nothing felt overly sexualized. This movie did a great job of making an adult movie without making it explicit or having any moments where the parents would have to be wondering, what are the kids taking from this? It feels like it was pretty well done in that way. So the fact that it's anti-Bechdel and it does these things with the anti-male gaze, I'm going to say, yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up. So yeah, that was Practical Magic. Next week is a big question mark, because normally we would be starting over at the top, but we might be doing the second in our In Defense Of series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this would be when the next In Defense Of would come up.
So you can cut this out, but who's defending what?
It depends on what order we're going in, so you did the first one, so yes. I guess it would be me next, but sure. I mean, it could go either direction. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is I'm going to defend against y'all. I will probably chat with you a little bit off the pod and figure out exactly which direction I'm going with it. But this will be my turn in the defendant's seat. Defending.
I think you need to find something that one of us doesn't like, at least.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is find something that's slightly controversial, like. It would have been, if Katie were still here, the Conan would have been a great one for her to tear into for however long she had muster for it.
I have things going on. Get over it.
But yes, so that will be coming in our next episode. We'll be doing another In Defense Of series.
Exciting.
Yeah, so I hope you all are enjoying the pod so far. We're having a good time putting it together, trying to do some exciting new things coming up in the future. If you are enjoying the pod, remember to reach out to us on Facebook. Look for an Instagram page. Look for our Discord server, which we will start hosting some watch parties and things of that nature. By the time you're hearing my voice, check it out. It probably will be active or coming soon, TM. But definitely leave us a review. Support us financially on Ko-Fi to vote with your dollars. Literally, we're going to have votes where you can vote with your dollars. We believe in the capitalist system. So, but until next time, this has been Screenshot, or wait, what's the name of our show? Screen Share and Chill.
Oh, Jesus
Until
Christ.
next time.
His brain is melting.
This has been Screen Share and Chill. My name is Kelley.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's my problem. I've had way too much sausage gravy and I'm very hot.
You dumb bastard.
I'm going to call the police. You go ahead, call them. Call anybody you want. They can't do anything to me. Not anymore. And nor can any of you. You go ahead, call them. Call
And I'm not going to let you get another word in edgewise because I'm going to pretend to be Kelley today. And I'm just going to talk over everyone and steamroll the whole show.